have remarks from the National Agency for Great Green, presentation by Dr. Moses Hama. My name is Engineer Chidiebele Uzabwa. I'm the Center Leader for Center for Climate Change Adaptation and Mitigation Studies, African University of Science and Technology. And so today, we will be having our 5th decarbonization pathway series. And we'll be looking at advancing REDD+ and climate actions in Africa. So, without wasting much time, sorry for the noise in the background. I would like to have some opening remarks. We have one of the directors from the National Agency for Great Green Wall in the call. G mentioned someone will be in attendance. I don't know if you have somebody from Great Green Wall. You can unmute for your remark. Okay. In absence of that, we'll proceed to introduce the presenter for today. Okay. Dr. Moses Hama is currently the Director of Forestry in the Federal Ministry of Environment. He is also the National Coordinator and the Country Focal Person of the Nigerian REDD+ program. He has been coordinating REDD+ program in Nigeria since 2015 and has worked with REDD and Forest Carbon Partnership Facility of the World Bank put in place for REDD+ readiness pillars in Nigeria, with potential of proceeding with the investment of REDD+ activities in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome a good friend, and we actually met last time in Egypt, and I could see the resilience and the effort and the energy and the passion that he dedicates to ensuring that this project becomes success. And that is why today, hear from him and drink from the fountain of his knowledge and see areas where we can key in to support him and to collaborate as not just organizations or researchers or academia, but also as Nigerians, because this is a responsibility of every one of us. Today we talk about climate change, and we cannot talk about climate change without talking about REDD+. I don't want to go ahead to, reveal what, for some of us that are not familiar with what REDD+ is all about. And I think he will do justice to that. So at this point, I welcome Dr. Moses Hama for his presentation.
Thank you so much, Engineer. I hope I want to sincerely apologize if you don't mind my speaking without, I don't know if this is to take 20-30 minutes, because if I want to do a presentation, we might be, delving into taking so much time. I expect this to be interactive, considering the persons that we're finding here. So will you love that I just speak to what we are doing in REDD, what our thinking is about the challenges we have encountered and what the future is, without necessarily boring you with a presentation. But if we want a presentation, I can quickly share with us some few slides on what we have done within the country. let me, first of all, thank you for giving us this opportunity to share our experience and what we've been doing in the REDD Plus program, particularly in the country, and how we have interacted with our colleagues and partners around the world, and where we are currently and what we are looking forward to. What again triggered the REDD Plus program within the country? We started the readiness program in 2012, and with an entry to the through using Cross River State as a demonstration state because of very obvious reasons. They were housing the remaining tropical forests in Nigeria, and so we needed to pay attention there, and we had the political will from the government of the day, to support our demonstrating the REDD Plus initiative in the state. And so we got started with the UN REDD support to help us out in, analyzing some drivers of deforestation, and, sensitization efforts, stakeholder engagement, because of what REDD is. REDD Plus is a landscape activity, meaning that there will be a lot of interest within the forest landscape. So we needed a very robust engagement, including the communities that house the forest. And so that we had to do with that demonstration activity while strengthening institutional capacity at the national level. As we made progress, we saw that it would be very challenging for a very huge country like Nigeria for us to use Cross River State to reflect and tell our stories accurately on what our challenges are in terms of our deforestation and other issues around the forest and sustainable forest management. So we had to make a case to say Nigeria was first huge, and our forest needs to be further, we need to further understand what is happening in other landscapes and other subnationals. So after we did that demonstration with the help of the UN REDD funding, we quickly took our case to the FCPF World Bank to say we need to be supported. And so they gave us that support to expand readiness activities to 2 additional states. And as is expected with the bank, we are made to be very transparent. So we first wrote to the states, because REDD Plus is not imposed, and states should show a commitment to say, look, they want to key into this mechanism because of its financial benefit and other benefits that if they go ahead and sustainably keep their forests, their communities and the livelihood of those areas will be better for it. We brought in from that grant, additional grant, 2 states, which were Ondo and Nasarawa states. After a rigorous assessment and some grant routing to be sure that amongst the 9 states that indicated interest, they were the best place as at that time to be the 2 states. When we got the 2 states, we still continue with the activity of sensitization, setting up, forest pilot sites, setting up, some communities, committees to understand what the REDD Plus programs were, as well as beginning to demonstrate how to assess carbon inventory in the states. When we progressed, we also had a window from that funding that if you demonstrate from that you've done well, you could get some additional funding to expand. And Nigeria did well, and we were given some support to expand to 4 more states. This time around, we had 20 states governors that wrote
Yeah, I think he's having an issue with his connection. He will join us now.
my network went off.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Okay. Welcome back, sir.
Sincere apologies. We got to bring 4 additional states, and these states were, like I mentioned, there were those states, Plateau states, Kaduna, and Ogun State. As we speak, we're supposed to again take them through the readiness processes in terms of engagement. What is it about communities and what are they supposed to do to prepare them to have a base for which REDD+ investment can sit within those communities. We've been able to do that. And in doing this, we needed a national readiness framework, as is expected by countries who want to get into investment and payment for result base. And those pillars were supposed to be a national strategy. We're supposed to put in place a forest reference emission level to show the baseline of where we were before we started engaging in REDD+ activities, so that when we begin to do REDD+ investment, we can show what has changed. And we can now ask, pay us because we did REDD and this changed. So that's what the forest reference emission level is meant to happen. So as we speak, as a country, we do have a strategy with very strategic options that investment can pick from. We won't launch it in Glasgow in COP, right? We want the last, but second by the last COP. So we equally have been able to put in place a national forest monitoring system where we should be able to track our efforts. You know, what is it that is changing? Our policies helping us to change the forest estates and all of that. So as we speak as a country, that 3rd pillar is in place. We were able to put also in place a safeguard information system. And that safeguard information system is meant to, protect forest-dependent communities. Because yes, you want to do REDD+ investment, you need not to jeopardize the livelihood and what the forest communities want to do. So the UNFCCC allows that you must put that, and it must be transparent that whatever you're doing, the forest dependent communities are not, forced into that investment, but they are, accepting the investment so long as it's within the forest. So Nigeria currently can be said to be REDD ready, because those are the pillars that you need to put as a country to enable you, host REDD+ investment. So we have a national forest monitoring system, have a forest reference emission level, we have a safeguard information system, and we have a strategy. How far have we gone? What are our challenges in this journey of readiness? let me connect us back to the global challenges. A lot of African countries from our interactions are ready. 10 years past, the REDD Plus program came, we have been doing readiness. And the question is, how long will we dwell in this readiness when, the climate challenges are coming and communities are beginning to be apprehensive to say we've asked them to keep this forest and that there will be payment for their efforts and all of that. Good thing, I'm sure, amongst participants in this webinar, you know how slow developed countries are coming with funding, to support the issues of mitigation and adaptation, Article 6, which has been an issue. And, their pledges are not reflecting in real time. They're not reflecting on ground. We go to meetings and, we talk, we make pledges, and at the end we come back and we hear X billion annually will be given. Are we really getting that to deal with, and incentivize, countries that are beginning to do REDD in real sense? And that is not happening, and that has been our worries, has been our core in most of the meetings and negotiations we get to. As long as you don't give incentives to REDD, other interventions will override the intention of keeping our forests. Because when you place carbon credit against, clearing the forest for cocoa, for sawmill, for all of that, the forest communities will ask you, how long have we been here? And these ones are bringing resources they can deal with their livelihood. I have also made these comments in most of my presentation to say, yes, maybe some persons that are in this meeting would have heard me say that dry meat is sweet. But before you eat the dry meat, wait for it to be dry for you to eat. You need to be putting something, in your mouth while you are waiting for the dry meat to be ready. And that's what the communities are saying. Yes, carbon credit. Well, before it comes big, now we begin to deal with some very clear livelihood challenges that are facing us because our lives are tied to that, to the forest. And you say we should keep the forest. So as Africa, we are the least emitter. I was just in a Zoom that I just cut off about by Harvard, about mission transition. I was supposed to have had comments as being less than 3%, the whole of Africa. US is the highest emitter and all that. What are they doing in terms of commitments? We're talking about energy transition. Now they are looking at adaptation, as I've always advocated. Adaptation is more of theirs. Mitigation is better for us. Adaptations can have some limits. So let's give an example, as I spoke in yesterday's meeting. I said, there's a level of flooding that comes, and they have given you all the adaptation techniques and inputs. It can be more than your power carrying capacity of adaptation will carry. If you had followed mitigation, it would have been better. Go and ask the hurricanes that are happening. They have adaptation. Oh, we have to cover. If they had done things to ameliorate the effect of that hurricane, it would have been cheaper and better. So as a country, as a continent, we are more advocating for mitigation. And if we must mitigate, which helps global, they should help us with livelihood challenge to keep the forest, because that's what we live on. So what is the REDD thinking of the next phase in our investment? What do we want to do? Well, the voluntary market is bringing conditions that are very challenging. You need to do A, B, C, D. Just yesterday, the vice president, through launched this program called where Vistol is partnering with them for about $50 million to do XYZ, and the vice president was saying they should go beyond that. It's good to have cook stoves. It's good to have XYZ. Are we really there? Who is facing the issue of stopping the deforestation for now while we are driving? Do we need to remove all the forests because we want to do cook stoves and not worry about it? What of other ecosystem services that the forest provides? What of the clean water? What of the health? What of the medicine? What of the things that they already charge atmosphere of carbon dioxide that is supposed to be removing? So yes, we want to do, they are bringing adaptations, cook stove, they are bringing XYZ because they are the ones that are more advanced. I have raised that in my meetings, and I'll raise it where I have the opportunity, because what touches me more as a coordinator and REDD and the forest is that unless we face and take the REDD plus carbon credit issue serious, who is bringing resources? Today, they tell you it's $10, it's $5, you must do A, B, C, D before you can get that $5. Meanwhile, overnight, you can get so much if the palm oil, you clear the forest and put the palm oil, and it's beginning to work. You can remove the whole forest and remove your mines, your minerals that are on the ground. But the after effects is more. And I keep saying that unless we pay attention, when we started the REDD Plus program, the momentum is not what is happening. The reason is that people were expecting that there will be so much resources and incentives for keeping the forest that will come quickly. So that when the forest community sees that you're paying us, I mean, what are you bringing to remove my forest because of palm oil when I'm getting X amount because of the REDD Plus program? They will say no. It's natural. So our worry as we advance and on the REDD Plus and climate action is for us to begin to, speak in a manner that the Article 6, the carbon credit, will be such that the incentives for it will be so much that people would prefer to leave their forest standing rather than to turn them to timber, rather than to clear them for palm oil, rather than palm oil is fine. But can you do an innovation? Even if you want to do cocoa, you can say you do it in a manner that the forest is standing, the cocoa is standing, while you're still getting that. But again, as we speak, who has started getting real benefit from reward from keeping the forest that we can emulate, even in the African country? Ghana, well, just something little because of the carbon fund. What have they gotten? They're innovative in their ways, and they are beginning to get some resources because they are doing carbon REDD Plus, cocoa for REDD, and that is innovation. Again, our undoing as a continent. Have we been able to connect, speak, with one voice, putting our peculiarities in a manner that, yes, there's one voice, but it can deal with that peculiarities of the various regions. That is what we have been calling within the REDD Plus family in the Africa. I'm from, I happen to be driving that process among the REDD Plus countries, that we must say what our issues are so that we don't go there for them to give us what they think is good for us. So we are beginning to do that connection to say, look, this is the problem of our country. This is the problem of our forest dependent communities. This is the way we want it to go. If you want this thing to progress, take these issues and infuse it in your design in terms of funding. So we equally will be looking forward to our policy approaches. particularly taking it home to us as a country. How connected are we in terms of our policies? Are we doing the silos business where agri bring a policy or whatever, instead of opening up to connect with the environment, connect with agri, connect with GGW, connect with forestry, and bring out a policy that will be encompassing? Or you want to do that deals with only and benefits that small sector to the detriment of the whole? So these are the areas that are our concerns. We have, for instance, where I sit, we have partners that want to begin to invest in REDD+ to deal with climate actions as it concerns global needs. But which policy can it sit? I've had calls to take the legislators in the days we're having the support to retreat, and we have given them some policy needs that, please, these are the areas you need to support if this investment can sit. Nobody wants to bring their resources to sit on nothing, no matter how beautiful your forest is. It's the policies that should sit there and they begin to say, okay, we have clear policies on, maybe REDD+ registry, REDD climate finance, carbon credit, benefit sharing arrangement, which are very clear, taking in consideration our federated approach. Don't forget, Nigeria is complex. So when Ghana is making a one case matter, we are making a 36 case position because of our carbon, because of our land use policy. The forest is not owned by Abuja. The forest is owned by the subnationals. How do we connect them and make it? Because if we don't connect them and any investor wants to come at the national, there's nothing you can do, no matter how beautiful your things are. If they find discordance in terms of policies, they will be very skeptical to begin to bring investment that can make the forest communities benefit. So these are some of the challenges we are pushing. Our joy, again, is the coming of the Climate Change Act that is supposed to, bring climate-related agencies, MDAs, to say, look, this is how, not necessarily taking your role, but we are putting a frame that you can do better for all of us. It's good to have the act. The act is just one thing. How that act will begin to, translate to benefits to communities and translate to changing the narrative in terms of climate actions is another thing. And I do hope that with the very able leadership of the DG, in the coming months and weeks, it should be able to, begin to gather and, fine-tune the act and pick elements that need quick address so that we can take advantage of the opportunities that are there before the funding and partners begin to find other locations to, put their investment in. That's been my call in recent days, that we must take action quickly because of my experience with the GCF funding. When GCF funding came, we were slow. There were no policies. We couldn't, quickly take advantage of. Before we knew it, GCF funding became too tough to assess. The countries that were smart and policies were on ground, they did a lot of, drawdown from the GCF funding and did some projects. How many projects are being funded by GCF in the country as large as Nigeria with the population landmass? And the only challenge is because we were not, strategic early enough. And this again, the carbon, now the Article 6 is on. There are voluntary marketers are moving everywhere. I know how my mails, how many days I hold meetings for people who want to come and do things around. But I know that we cannot proceed unless we have the enabling policies and laws. Because when we get to that point, they will get stopped. And it's painful because the forest community have this REDD Plus investment to assure them that this is not a fluke. The REDD Plus program is not a fluke, but it is to the benefit of their communities and to the benefit of the whole. NDC revision, as I round up, NDC revision, beautiful. Don't forget that the NDC revision, the REDD Plus program on the Afolu sector was the only unit that brought verifiable data that we can boast of. Why? Because we have built capacities. To submit a FRAIL, I used to call it made in Nigeria FRAIL. Other countries, including Ghana, they had consultants that did it, but for us, we have in-country the guidance of FAO that understand the details of our FRAIL. As we are working towards modification of FRAIL, we are using ourselves. And that is something that we must boast about. And it is how to get data and show change, extending it to forest communities, so that they should be able to say, we know how to calculate what our forest is. And so we were able to bring that real data to, give to the NDC revision, and by 2030, what should happen in area A, B, C, D, in the forestry sector for us to attain our pledge. So I want to say that this is a discussion that's not finished. It's an ongoing discussion. I prefer talking than making presentation, because if I had made a presentation, I'll be tied to one area. And at this point, if I've not taken too much time, so I've raised our journey, I've stated our achievements, I've stated our challenges, and I've equally in my speech said that the way forward is for us to do this capacity enhancement, policy establishment, and the likes. Thank you so much. And I wait for other presenters. And if they are...
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, sir. And I can see hands up. And I know some of you are itching for questions. Olufemi, you would like to unmute and ask your question. We're in question and answer now.
All right. Sorry, confirm if you can hear me.
Very well, go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, sir, Dr. Musisama. Thank you very much for your speech. And I'm so happy to be present in this meeting, which I think I've been looking forward to this. Last year, December, I think you were invited by the Ondo State government as a keynote speaker to talk about carbon market workshop. Am I right, sir? So you sent down a representative, I think Mr. Tony Atta. That was December 8th last year. So I was in the program. I was also invited as one of the guests. And Mr. Tony Atta made a lot of eye-opening discussion around forestry and stuff like that. And according to him, he even said more than 90% of our forests have been depleted, which is a very sad case. I have, to an extent, I have a working relationship with the Ondo State government because I'm also, one way or the other, involved in REDD Plus project. I've always been doing one or two researches on REDD Plus because my organization, Urban Global Citizen, was approved to be the carbon credit project developer for 100 million coconut plantation in Nigeria. And it's basically about, so I am driving it towards through, agroforestry, reforestation, and that channel. So permit me to, I'll be so much interested to have your contact to discuss more on this. And besides, we also have a platform in technology, given some of the challenges that you have stated, policies, and then how are we connected to ensure that we are able to keep track of our. We also have a blockchain technology that we have developed that will bring all stakeholders together, governments, community members, investors. The platform is actually to create a transparent mechanism for all parties involved, and then especially in terms of revenue sharing, profit sharing with the community members, and then all stakeholders involved to see through how this project can be well managed. So these are some of the things I would like to discuss with you privately, and I would so much be interested, like I said, to have your contact, sir. I think it's a privilege to be on this call. This is just what I said. Let me share with you.
Thank you so much. I'm sure engineer should be able to share my contact with you.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Oh, sorry, I've been muted, sorry. So my question to you, sir, is on the land tenure system for carbon offset projects. And last year, November, a company from Europe approached me for a carbon offset project in Nigeria. And what they wanted was to purchase a land where they can, earn some carbon credit through their carbon projects. And I remember that I was not quite sure if, and I tried to ask questions, I couldn't get clarification, not quite sure if Nigeria was aware of some of these offset projects that are going on in Nigeria in the forestry, in the forest sector, where they procure this land and then they earn some carbon credit from it and all of that. My concern there would be the land tenure system, because if they buy a land here in Nigeria, of course, it's 99 years that you have to. So I would like you to throw more light on the carbon offset project as it relates to forestry and the land tenure system that is on the ground.
Yes, this is one of the very major challenge we do have in our dealing with the forest carbon offset. You understand, if you listen to me when I was making my statement, I said, look, we're a complex country. Our land use act gives land to the states and not to the federal, and some, they are community land and all that. In our progress in REDD, we've had to find a way of how to navigate this challenge of land tenure. You know, the land tenure system is not with clarity as we speak currently. If we have to, and that has been a challenge, the land tenure, addressing the land tenure reforms and social safeguards have been a challenge. And these reforms calls for governance, reforms in governance, national policies, and such things like tax. Because if you must do a tenure system, every of these should be clear. And this is a very big hurdle for us. And that too is it's where we're having the issues of how clearly are the benefit sharing mechanism going to go? Because the land tenure should speak to the benefit sharing of whatever the credit, the offsetting resources will be used for. So these are all still tied to the policy issues I brought in, be it state policies or national. Is my voice, are you hearing me?
Very well, sir. Very
sir.
well, sir. We can hear you.
Very well, sir.
Okay, fine. So it still goes to that challenge of the right policies, and this will not be separating the land tenure system. The land tenure system need to have clarity. Who owns land? And who is supposed to take anything that comes from that land? Some states are the owners of land, and others are some community lands. Don't forget the challenge we had with the superhighway in Cross River State that generated a lot of issues. So if that land, community land, if not that community was one community that has become so knowledgeable and they have passion, for forest land and, forest related activities. It wouldn't have been easy. It would have been used for other things. So if there's clarity in the land tenure system, ownership, and land use planning that is clear, because if you have a land tenure, it will equally incorporate in it the land use planning and the like. So these are some of the challenges that are not clear. And like you say, people are coming in to say they want to do offsetting. But from where I sit, I know that there will be hitches along the line. And that's why we need to have clarity. We need to have these legislations or policies that will be so clear that it will cover every area so long as it has to do with carbon offset. So yes, land tenure is our challenge in terms of, because there's no clarity in some localities, and we need to get that clarity because it must connect to the benefit sharing that will come from the offsetting. And so, yes, it's good to identify these issues because of the pressure of offsetting. Even the NCC is talking offsetting, but they're not looking at their full sector. They're looking offsetting from the easy win, the oil, the gas, because I've not seen discussion coming in this full sector that is key to us yet. I'm not aware. I'm sure maybe those discussions are happening. But since I run this small enclave, we've not started interacting to say, how do we deal with this if we must get credit from their full sector? Don't carbon credit here that we are talking about, maybe for purposes of emphasis, is from their full sector that the REDD deals with. We have no business. We are dealing with carbon that comes from sequestration, while the other ones in the oil is dealing with the one that you are saying, oh, you don't want to produce, if you are emitting and bringing so much of carbon dioxide into the air, we want to reduce it, we want to turn it to X, Y, Z. But the full sector is that, what is it that we can take from the air? And what is it that, because every tree that you keep, what it does is that the excess, it takes it in, and you calculate it to say, look, because we have certain X amount of hectares is standing here, and from our activity data and our calculation, the carbon stock in this place is X. Every year, every 5 years, we know that it will be sequencing X amount of carbon dioxide, and which will cost us X amount. That's what this REDD Plus is all about. So yes, do we have a clear and very settled land tenure? We don't, to the best of my way, there is no clarity. These are areas we are still building to have it based on the peculiarities of states and what works for them for clarity, so that investment can have a seamless entry and and signing of whatever they want to sign.
Okay, sir. Can I ask a question, sir?
Yes, please. Just hold on, I'll come back to you.
Okay.
The second question will be that on the common denominator that you see across the countries that are part of REDD Plus, is the issue of capacity building, and then not just on capacity, but also the lack of educational system in those countries that build people, or that produces people that are immediately relevant to tackle some of these things. So specifically for Nigeria, for now, do we have some kind of program that's for capacity building or partnership with research institutes or universities to, in this area? And are there funds available? You talked about the GCF fund. So what is it like with REDD+ and collaborators?
Okay, I think for capacity so far, yes, capacity needs are not what you should say you have exhausted capacity development enhancement. What has the REDD done? We built some in-country, as we speak, like I told you when I was talking about Fred, we have an MRV team that we have had some opportunities of traveling in one or two of them to strengthen their capacity X. And internally, we have brought some consultants that were helping us develop things like National Forest Monitoring System and helping them on what to do. But is this sufficient for a very huge country like Nigeria? No. Is it something that we have been able to build capacity to be independent? No. So what we are doing too is, even in developing clear data for the purpose of sale of carbon credit, there is still capacity needs. And we are saying that to some investors to say, look, there are some readiness elements that are not properly fine-tuned. And so, and because of lack of capacity. And so for us to progress, you need to give us some funding to strengthen this capacity so that we can track whatever we are telling you, we are selling you, whatever you tell us, we will understand what the changes are. So yes, we still need capacity because we are talking with some partners to say, while we are waiting for investment in these capacity areas, and if you have the means, be it from the NDC's partners, be it from even some of these voluntary carbon marketers, we are saying we need to do this before you can come and start talking about the credit. So yes, capacity needs are there. And we're talking to persons like you and the universities. While we're doing our initial capacity in terms of MRV, we're bringing the academia to bring CSOs, to bring forest-dependent communities. So as we speak today, we have some academia that have been part of our capacity trainings. We have brought CSOs that have been part of our, we have even trained the media on how to report our stories. We have brought some group of media who have been supporting us and taking them through, what the REDD+ program is, what it is that we do, so that when they are reporting, they don't report and leaving gaps. The CSOs too, we have had calls to bring them so that they can understand and tell, and even, what do I say now? Even help us to propagate or defend the need for why this should go forward. The academia, we have brought them to strengthen, an academic work and what the real field work is not most times the same. So that we have tried to, even communities, we have equally included them in our inventories. So that at least they understand some ABC of what an inventory should look like. But like I say, look at our population, look at our states. This is just small. And the more people understand and get capacity, the better for the end product delivery. So we still want to, we're still telling partners, please, capacity needs are still our gaps.
Fantastic, great responses, Dr. Moses Alma. I think we'll take one or two questions. Indicate if you have questions. Somebody was trying to ask a question earlier. Can you indicate so you can unmute?
Okay,
Femi,
so yes.
make it brief.
All right. So, sir, so when I was having meeting with my team members and maybe with some government officials around the issue of land, especially the community members, so we were thinking, I would like to channel my question towards the coconut plantation, and we were thinking of maybe it would be nice to have an agro-processing center in a community whereby the community members will be employed to execute on maybe production of coconuts or coconut oil and all sorts of things that can be derived from coconut. Can this be effective in exchange to have access to community land, especially when it comes to carbon sequestration activities?
If I got that question well, don't forget that coconut, I don't know if you want to have it as a livelihood project to prevent incursion to the forest, because there are two things about interventions within the forest communities. If you have, maybe, for instance, identify the drivers of deforestation within that community, and maybe it is lack of, they want to do things creative with their hands, and they must go to the forest to take the forest for, to live. We are forest dependent people, and that's where we take our living from. Nobody, whether the carbon dioxide is killing everybody, you must first survive. And if the survival is in the forest, you must enter the forest. So if you are talking about palm or coconut, we should look at it from the angle of using it as a livelihood project to protect the forest, having identified that it is, young people, they want to go there to cut it for timber and exercise. So we want to put a coconut plantation and take advantage of its complete value chain so that they can be busy and be able to meet their day-to-day needs and all of that. That's the only angle, if I got you right. That's where you can bring coconut and oil producing and processing and the likes. But it's not to replace the forest with coconut. Because if you replace the forest with coconut, don't forget that we have submitted there's a forest definition, what the UNFCCC will accept as forest for Nigeria in terms of height of the tree, the canopy cover, and the likes. So if it is for a livelihood project in possibly degraded area, we can say, well, that's very innovative, so that the forest will stay where it is and not begin to lose its value continuously. So for that, I would say we're doing things. While we're rounding up this program, we did what we call capacity building with livelihood content. What was that? For the forest-dependent communities, we felt that the readiness funding does not allow us to do projects. But we became innovative, as a secretariat, to say, look, instead of us to bring the community members time again and again to cities, give them envelope, give them a file jacket, teach them what livelihood is, why not we take that resources and do it in situ? So we're able to make a good case to the bank and say, look, we can do this capacity in their communities. And so the bank say we're not doing projects, it's training on how livelihood options. So they brought the need, we didn't need assessment. Some say cassava processing and others say storage, post-harvest storage in the north. The two states took post-harvest storage, which is Kaduna and Plateau. And others took cassava processing. What did we do? We had to buy the equipment, installed it in their community for cassava processing, and added all the value chain instead of coming to show it in pictures. So the case I made then for the bank is that After you train people in the hotel, do you see their training file, a folder? They don't drop it and go away. The training folder, the banners, all those things you use for the training, they go with it, the biros, the stickers and all that. So it's the same thing we are doing. We want to train them on cassava processing. And we want to use, this is what we want to use to train them. We mount it in the communities. And after training and we go, the cassava processing remains with them and they begin to use it continually to do their level. Is it not the more innovative? We didn't do project. We only trained and left the folder in terms of cassava processing machine with them in their villages. We left the dryers in their communities. And it has become a project that we can talk about. And so if it works and it is helping those forest-dependent communities to stay less away from the forest, and we can track it. If other projects come, it becomes a model to do in supporting forest-dependent communities.
Yes, sir. You are very right, sir. It's a livelihood support program. So whereby we ensure that, having seen that one of the reasons or one of the factors that leads to deforestation is expansion or increase in agricultural activities in the community areas. So you are very correct, sir. Thank you for the contribution.
All right, sir. Before we take the last question, I'm going to ask our presenter, just following up the last comment. Of recent, we're beginning to see a lot of organizations coming up with tree planting campaigns. And what I see mostly is some kind of biodiversity beautification rather than having economic trees, because in this also we expect to have returns, on investment. If we invest a lot to a forest, if I may use that word, we also should, have some return on investment, even to maintain the forest and all of that. So should be focused just be on just biodiversity beautification or some economic impact of that forest, on given the climate aspect is constant, but of course on this two focus. So I would like you to respond to that. But before, we also take question from Daniel, and then you can respond to the two, and we can call it a day. So Daniel, you can unmute and ask your question briefly. So that would.
Oh, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much for this meeting. Actually, it's my very first time of connecting, and it's been insightful. And thank you so much, Mr. Hammer, for the presentation. Like, I really learned a lot. So I wanted to ask, I think this is like my second time of hearing about the REDD Plus initiative, but I really didn't know much about it until today. So I wanted to know, like, is there an avenue for this REDD Plus program to partner or collaborate with, say, youth bodies or organizations for propagation of the message and what REDD Plus stands for, especially to grassroots? What I'm asking is, we have some youth bodies, okay, like myself. I lead a youth organization that we are advocating for climate resilience, mitigation, and all that. So is there a way that does REDD Plus have an avenue to partner with or even teach or empower youth organizations like this to further sensitize communities on the message they carry? Is there a way that they can be incorporated into the REDD Plus program?
Okay, let me start with what Engineer first asked, if most of the afforestation that are happening seems to be focusing on biodiversity as against a totality of biodiversity and and as well as carbon credit earning. It depends on what type of afforestation you're doing. Don't forget that if you plant, like we had of the Ondo plant coconut, you are doing some level of afforestation, but is it to earn carbon? This is where it is becoming tricky, because some countries are incorporating some of these economic trees to their natural forests. And what makes us call a forest, like I say, has a definition that is localized to a country. So if you find within a forest area and you put coconut and the likes, and the coconut is supposed to grow and add and define that canopy cover and that area, when you know, so you can say that is helping you get coconut. Don't forget that coconut will be taking the fruit, you will not be taking the tree itself and all of that. Or cashew, as the case may be. So most times it's people are using, there's some afforestation that are using indigenous species. And those indigenous species cannot just end like that. They will equally be, they will grow. It's just like it takes a long year of gestation for them to grow, to get that height, to get the canopy that they can begin to bring forest. These are the innovations, and we are beginning to talk to those who are doing afforestation, that why not be strategic? As you want to get economic trees for purposes of economic earning, introduce those that will be sustainable for the purpose of carbon. Guess this is what Ghana is doing. Ghana is currently using cocoa for REDD. Cocoa for REDD does not mean that clear the forest and plant cocoa. Ghana is a cocoa producing nation. And when they enter REDD, they say, look, we cannot leave this our major end of people put livelihoods there. Otherwise, the REDD program will be looked as interfering on their rights. Says, okay, how do we do REDD and still do our cocoa? They say, for every, as you grow your cocoa, let there be standing forest trees within your cocoa farm, alongside the cocoa. And so that we can, whatever gain, you get your cocoa if you get money, whatever gain comes from the trees that you have been able to maintain within your cocoa farm, as you calculate it for carbon purposes, you equally get something from it. And that's the way to be innovative, and it's a win-win approach. So in general, we think that, yes, afforestation is for biodiversity, but we should add the carbon credit intention in it. So whatever we are putting, we should have that in our minds moving forward. And those who have that, they have the gain for the fruits, they have the others. Then the second answer for you, who is, yeah, we work with youths. I mean, our sensitization is open to, there are youths too who are media people, there are youths who are CSOs and NGOs. The last time we're dealing with, what's his name, from Delta, I've had calls to go and give some speeches because there were youth programs from Freeman Law. So it's a youth that has been part of, because he too is an NGO. So why not, as we make progress, particularly in the investment, if you find an investment within your locality, and we know that you have a passion for the forest and all of that, and there's a need, depending on what kind of REDD plus investment we are doing in that locality, surely it's better to bring the youth, because they are the ones that will sustain the process moving forward. So that's what I will respond to that effect.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Moses Hammer, for this wonderful session. And I know that if we will continue with questions, more things will come up. But we always continue, we always have this kind of platform and opportunities where we aggregate players in this sector to come and discuss like we have today. And thank you very much for honoring our invitation and to speaking to this community of people who want to make a change, who want to take action, and then who want to still have a responsible and eco-friendly environment. So we want to thank you for this opportunity and for every one of us who have participated in this. We look forward for to see again. We usually have these webinars twice in a month on different areas. Currently, we are working on the decarbonization pathway series. By the way, for some of us that joined late, this is coming from the Center of Climate Change Adaptation and Mitigation Studies from African University of Science and Technology, is here in Abuja. And African University of Science and Technology prior to this time have been purely on postgraduate, doing masters and PhD in different areas, but currently they started undergraduate studies, and the other centers in the universities, they're also open for collaborations, you know, so you can hop in or check on the website at www.aust.edu.ng. So this webinar is recorded and will be shared on our YouTube channel. You can always go and listen and enrich yourself, and even listen to the previous webinars that we have had in this series. So thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Moses Salma.
Thank you so much.
And
Bye.
bye. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah, bye.